This documentary explores how predators and prey interact when young animals are most vulnerable, the earliest days and weeks of life. Every event shown is based on real observations by wildlife biologists, ecologists, and long-term field studies from around the world. We will look at how predators locate young animals, how parents defend them, and how natural ecosystems depend on these interactions. Rather than dramatizing conflict, we focus on the biology behind survival, growth rates, timing of births, camouflage, group behavior, and the roles predators play in healthy habitats. These stories matter because the survival of young animals shapes future populations, influences migration, and maintains balance in grasslands, oceans, forests, and ice-covered coasts. This documentary is presented for educational and informational purposes only. All content is based on real-world animal behavior, supported by scientific research, ecological studies, and verified observations from reputable wildlife organizations and natural history sources. No information is fabricated, fictionalized, or exaggerated. Before we continue, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to support the channel and help us bring more nature stories to life. Calving season on the African plains. Each year in Tanzania and Kenya, the East African savanna changes almost overnight. Seasonal rains trigger a synchronized birth pulse among wildebeest. Within a short period, hundreds of thousands of calves arrive. Scientists call this predator swamping, when so many young are born at once that predators can only take a small fraction. The landscape offers opportunity and risk at the same time. Calves can stand within minutes and can run within hours, an adaptation to open country living where there is little cover. But their smaller size, softer hooves, and lower stamina during the first days make them easier targets than adults. Lions watch the edges of the herds. Spotted hyenas patrol at night, listening for separation calls. Jackals search for unattended newborns. None of these animals hunt constantly. Success is uncertain, and the energy costs are high. For predators, focusing on young animals during this brief season increases the chance of obtaining food that supports their own young back in dens or hiding places. Adult wildebeest respond in remarkable ways. Females often give birth in the center of the herd, where hundreds of bodies create a moving barrier. Mothers stay close, using positioning rather than force. Some will stand over calves or orient themselves between a threat and their newborn. When danger approaches, the herd may bunch tightly together, reducing the chance any single calf is singled out. The open plain offers little hiding space. Thunderclouds gather in the afternoon, and the herd prepares to move to new grazing areas after the rain. Our calf, now more balanced than before, must keep pace during the first long walk of its life. The herd begins to migrate, and night approaches when visibility drops and nocturnal hunters become active. Will the calf's new strength be enough for the journey ahead? Night on the savanna. As dusk settles on the Serengeti, temperatures fall and sound travels farther. Day-active birds grow quiet. Nocturnal insects replace them with a softer background hum. For many young animals, this is the most challenging time of day. The wildebeest herd keeps moving, hooves creating a low, constant rhythm across damp soil. Calves stay close to their mothers, guided by scent, contact, and short, low calls. Remaining with the group is the primary defense. Isolation increases risk. Spotted hyenas begin their night patrols. Unlike the reputation often assigned to them, hyenas are highly effective hunters as well as scavengers. Their ears can detect subtle movement in tall grass, and their endurance allows them to travel long distances while searching. They do not automatically rush toward the first sound. Instead, they assess opportunities and conserve energy for the most likely success. A small group of calves briefly falls behind when the herd crosses a shallow stream. The current is not strong, but it requires coordination they are still developing. Mothers circle back, encouraging movement by positioning themselves downstream and nudging forward. The behavior is simple yet effective. Staying in motion reduces the chance of separation. A hyena pauses at a distance, watching quietly. The wind shifts, carrying scent away rather than toward it. Without clear advantage, it moves on, continuing its slow, methodical route across the plain. Not every encounter leads to a hunt. Often, landscape, wind direction, and the cohesion of the herd determine what happens next. Clouds cover the moon. For the newborn wildebeest we met earlier, this is the first full night, and the longest test so far. Its legs are steadier, but fatigue is real in a body only hours old. The herd does not stop entirely. Grazing and movement alternate through the darkness. By dawn, the plains will reveal which calves managed to keep pace and which fell further behind, facing new challenges in daylight. But the night is not over yet, and another player in this ecosystem is beginning its morning far from Africa's grasslands. Coastal nursery on the Pacific Rim. Thousands of kilometers from the Savannah, the North Pacific coastline shifts with the season. Spring brings longer daylight, colder ocean currents rich in nutrients, and large gatherings of seabirds returning to rocky islands to breed. Here, tufted puffins, murres, and gulls nest on narrow ledges. Their chicks will hatch in exposed positions, surrounded by open air rather than grass. The colony is loud and constantly in motion, a living nursery balanced between land and sea. Below the cliffs, another predator waits for its own opportunity, the bald eagle. Well known as a fish hunter, eagles along coastal regions also take unattended seabird chicks when conditions align. Rather than constant attack, they spend long periods perched, conserving energy and watching for brief openings such as disturbance, storms, or crowded takeoffs. A sudden change in weather provides such a moment. Gusts rise, and adult seabirds lift from the cliffs in synchronized waves to feed offshore. Many nests hold single chicks that rely entirely on remaining still. Their primary defense is not speed, but camouflage and the protection of numbers across the colony. An eagle circles slowly. It is not the only participant in this system. Ravens and gulls also search for food, sometimes taking advantage of accidental drops or broken eggs. For each species, timing matters. Chicks too young to move are easier targets. Chicks too old are more agile and alert. On one narrow ledge, a mer chick peeks from beneath its parents' feathers. The adult has remained through the wind, reducing exposure to cold air and shielding the chick from view. In many seabird species, this close contact in the first days is essential for temperature control and survival. The storm passes as quickly as it arrived. Adults return in large numbers, replacing vulnerability with density. The eagle glides away to new vantage points along the coast. For the colony, the biggest challenges are still ahead, fledging from high cliffs to the ocean below, where different predators await. Across ecosystems, whether grassland or sea cliff, early life is shaped by brief windows of risk and protection. Our focus now shifts again, this time to frozen environments where timing is even more precise and where young animals grow in one of the planet's harshest climates, life on the ice. In the high Arctic, spring sunlight returns after months of darkness. Sea ice begins to fracture into broad platforms and narrow channels, creating a shifting landscape that serves as both nursery and hunting ground. On the ice surface, ringed seals maintain breathing holes and snow-covered layers where their pups are born. These shelters provide insulation from cold air and protection from the wind. Seal pups are born with a white coat that blends with snow but offers little defense if a den roof collapses or melts too soon. Nearby, polar bears travel across the ice, following scent and listening for the faint sounds beneath snow. Rather than constant pursuit, they rely on patience and timing, waiting quietly near breathing holes or testing snow drifts for hidden chambers. Their success depends heavily on sea ice stability. Without the platform, access to seals becomes more difficult. A young polar bear pauses, smelling the air. It is recently independent and still learning techniques that experienced adults refine over years. Digging into every drift wastes energy, so it moves slowly, testing the snow with careful pressure, using its weight to sense hollow spaces below. Inside one layer, a seal pup rests while its mother periodically leaves to feed. The pup grows rapidly on rich milk, gaining the insulation it will need once it enters the water. The layer's structure, a roof of compacted snow above a chamber, is the main barrier between it and the outside world. Warmer temperatures create new uncertainty. As spring advances, roofs thin and dens become easier to detect or collapse naturally. Predators and weather both shape outcomes. Not every lair is found, and not every attempt results in a catch. Many bears travel long distances before locating a viable den. A distant crack echoes as ice shifts with the tide. The young bear stops, head raised, then continues its search along a pressure ridge where snow has drifted deeper. Whether it discovers a den or moves on will depend on wind direction, snow depth, and chance, the subtle variables that govern life on the ice. As Arctic waters begin to open and seal pups take their first swims, the landscape will change again, shifting the balance between safety and exposure. The season's narrow window is closing, and both predator and prey must adapt quickly to what comes next. Forest hidden strategies. In temperate forests of North America and Europe, survival for young animals follows a different strategy than on the open plains or sea ice. Instead of running soon after birth, many species rely on stillness and concealment. A white-tailed deer fawn lies almost motionless in a patch of dappled shade. Its coat is patterned with pale spots that break up its outline against leaf litter. For the first days of life, the fawn's instinct is not to flee, but to remain hidden. Its mother feeds nearby and returns periodically for nursing, keeping distance to avoid drawing attention directly to the resting place. Predators in these forests include coyotes, bobcats, foxes, and sometimes black bears. Rather than sweeping searches, they move along familiar paths, guided by wind, terrain, and experience. Many encounters result in nothing. Concealment is effective, and dense vegetation limits sight lines. A light breeze shifts direction, carrying scents in new ways through the understory. The fawn lowers its head. Its defense depends on minimizing movement and odor, which is naturally low at this early age. This strategy is common among many ground-nesting birds as well, whose chicks remain still and blend into surroundings until they are capable of stronger movement. Nearby, a red fox navigates the edge of a meadow, stopping frequently to listen. Its ears can detect small rustles made by rodents beneath grass. Young ungulates are not its primary focus, but opportunity in nature is often situational. The fox continues on, finding more consistent food in insects and small mammals that are abundant in spring. As days pass, the fawn will transition from hiding to following its mother closely, building strength and speed. Until then, survival depends largely on habitat quality. Tall grass, shrubs, and unbroken forest cover provide the structure needed for concealment. Human land use can influence this delicate stage. Fragmented forests create more edges where predators travel and where traffic poses additional risk. Conversely, protected woodlands offer safer nursery areas where natural behaviors can unfold with fewer interruptions. Even in a seemingly quiet forest, countless young animals are present but unseen, relying on camouflage, parental care, and timing. Some will stand and join family groups within days. Others will wait in place until development catches up with the challenges around them. The season advances, and our story turns once more, this time to the water, where young animals face a three-dimensional world of currents, depth, and drifting hazards that shape every early decision. Early lives in open water. Beneath the surface of the world's oceans, young animals enter an environment where boundaries are few and movement is constant. For many marine species, early life begins as drifting larvae, tiny forms carried by currents before they can swim strongly on their own. Along coral reefs and coastal shelves, fish spawning events release millions of eggs into the water column. This high-number strategy reflects high early mortality. Only a small fraction will survive to adulthood. Predators such as jellyfish, small fish, and filter-feeding invertebrates consume a portion of these drifting young, forming the foundation of one of the planet's largest food webs. In shallow bays, young harbor seals rest on sandbars while adults forage offshore. Their first weeks are a period of rapid growth and constant learning, recognizing safe entry points into the water, timing breaths, and staying close to their mothers. Nearby, large gulls and eagles patrol shorelines, while in deeper water, sharks and orcas follow seasonal movements of prey. A tide change exposes new sand and hides old resting places. One seal pup becomes separated from its usual haul-out site by shifting water levels. Separation does not automatically mean danger, but it demands energy and orientation. The pup vocalizes briefly and re-enters the water, guided by sound and the presence of other seals nearby. Predators in marine systems often rely on patterns rather than chance encounters. Orcas specialize in different prey types, depending on their population group. Some focus on fish, others on marine mammals. Their success depends on teamwork and knowledge passed across generations. Young seals respond with vigilance, staying near adults and hauling out to rest where quick escape routes are available. Offshore, schools of small fish cluster tightly, a behavior known as shoaling that dilutes individual risk. Larger fish, such as tuna or groupers, may take advantage of the edges of these schools, where juveniles are more likely to drift away from the group. The interaction looks fluid and almost choreographed, shaped by hydrodynamics as much as behavior. For marine young, growth is a race with their environment. As size increases, vulnerability decreases, stronger swimming, thicker blubber, or tougher shells all shift the balance. Temperature, food availability, and current strength determine how quickly that transition occurs. As daylight fades over the ocean, vertical migrations begin. Countless small organisms rise toward the surface to feed, while predators follow. Tomorrow's currents will move nursery grounds to new locations, and new challenges will unfold out of sight beneath the waves, grassland guardians. Across southern Africa's open grasslands, another strategy unfolds among highly social animals, collective defense. Plains zebras and many antelope species raise their young in groups where multiple adults contribute to vigilance. A zebra foal, only days old, stands near its mother inside a loose ring of grazing adults. Its striped pattern, unique to each individual, helps disrupt outlines when the herd is viewed from a distance. For predators such as lions, cheetahs, and hyenas, the challenge is not only closing the distance, but also isolating a single target from moving stripes. Cheetahs, built for speed rather than power, primarily hunt in daylight when they can see and sprint effectively. They often avoid tightly grouped herds and instead watch for young animals that drift to the edges or for moments when terrain creates separation. Unlike lions or hyenas, cheetahs rarely defend a capture from stronger competitors, so their choices are precise and energy efficient. The zebra herd shifts position as the wind changes. Adults orient themselves to face different directions, increasing the range of their collective view. Foals remain close to their mothers, learning the movement signals of the group and responding to subtle cues rather than loud alarms. This early learning is critical. Recognition of herd pathways and water sources improves survival for years ahead. Nearby, a cheetah mother with half-grown cubs scans from a low rise. Teaching the cubs to hunt involves stage practice on small prey before they pursue larger animals. Young zebras are not automatic targets. The cost of injury is high for a predator whose success depends on sprinting. The cheetah eventually moves on, following Thompson's gazelles along a shallow valley where cover and distance align more clearly. The zebra foal's greatest risk comes during transitions, moving between grazing areas or water sources where cover is patchier and herd structure stretches out. These are the moments when predators evaluate spacing, wind, and terrain. Cloud shadows pass over the plain as midday heat builds. The herd begins to rest, adults standing while foals lie briefly on the ground before rising again to nurse. Growth is rapid during these weeks, powered by rich milk and near-constant grazing once the foal begins to feed on grass. As the dry season approaches, water becomes more limited and herds concentrate around remaining sources. Higher density brings both safety in numbers and competition for grazing. How young animals navigate these shifting conditions will shape which individuals continue into the next season. Riverbank risks. Along winding rivers in South America and Asia, life concentrates at the water's edge. Flooded forests and marshes provide rich feeding grounds for herbivores and nesting sites for birds, but they also create natural corridors for stealthy aquatic predators. On an Amazonian riverbank, a group of capybaras, the world's largest rodents, rests near shallow water. Several young individuals stay close to adults, using their presence as both shelter and guidance. Capybaras are strong swimmers, and water is their primary escape route when threatened. Beneath the surface, a black caiman lies almost motionless. Reptilian hunters, such as caimans and crocodiles, conserve energy by relying on patience rather than long chases. They watch for moments when animals enter or exit the water, times when footing is unstable and attention is divided. A juvenile capybara practices entering the river in short bursts, building confidence while adults remain nearby. Its early weeks are about learning routes, safe slopes, and how long to stay submerged. This knowledge is essential in wetlands where seasonal flooding constantly redraws the shoreline. Birds contribute another layer to the scene. Herons and storks patrol shallows for fish and amphibians, indirectly alerting mammals with sudden flights or alarm calls that signal movement in the water. These mixed species cues are an important part of many ecosystems. Animals read the reactions of others to interpret risk. Across the world in South Asia, a similar pattern occurs with axis deer and mugger crocodiles sharing lakes and rivers. Deer bring their fawns to drink, timing visits for cooler hours. Adults approach cautiously, stepping in and out quickly while scanning the surface. Crocodiles respond to vibration and movement, often remaining unseen until the last moment, which is why experience and group vigilance significantly improve survival for young deer. Seasonal water levels strongly influence outcomes. During high water, prey have more shoreline choices and can spread out. During the dry season, shrinking pools concentrate wildlife, increasing both encounter rates and competition. Many young animals experience their first migration along these receding banks, following adults to new feeding areas. As evening settles over the floodplain, insects rise in clouds and frogs begin calling. Young mammals bed down in higher ground vegetation, while aquatic hunters continue their silent watch. The river will change again with the next rain, reshaping both refuge and risk. Beyond rivers and wetlands, another story unfolds high above ground. In tree canopies where young animals navigate a world connected by branches rather than trails, and where a single leap can define survival. Peril in the canopy. In tropical forests of Central Africa and Southeast Asia, most life occurs above the ground. Branches form highways, leaves create hiding places, and sunlight filters in narrow beams through the canopy. For young animals born into this vertical world, balance and grip are as important as speed. A family of colobus monkeys rests in the upper layers of an African forest. A newborn clings firmly to its mother's chest. Unlike hoofed animals that must stand within minutes, young primates develop gradually, relying on constant contact in the first weeks. The canopy offers food and safety from many ground predators, but it also hosts specialized hunters. Among them is the crowned eagle, one of Africa's most powerful forest raptors. Well adapted to maneuvering through trees, it uses short, broad wings to navigate narrow gaps. Its focus is often on medium-sized mammals, and juveniles or smaller species can be more vulnerable than fully grown adults. Rather than soaring in open skies, this eagle waits silently on shaded perches, watching for movement below. The monkey group shifts to a fruiting tree. Adults feed while maintaining awareness, frequently scanning the surrounding branches. Soft calls pass through the group, coordinating movement. The youngest individuals stay tightly attached to adults, learning routes through repetitive travel along familiar limbs. Elsewhere in the canopy, a gliding lizard uses loose skin flaps to move between trunks, escaping a pursuing arboreal snake. For many tree-dwelling animals, predators come not only from the sky, but also from neighboring branches, where camouflage and slow, deliberate motion make detection difficult. Young animals in the treetops face a unique challenge. A misstep carries the risk of falling. To reduce this, many species progress through stages, first clinging, then short climbs, and finally cautious leaps. Adults guide movement by choosing stable pathways and maintaining close proximity during feeding and resting. Forest structure plays a decisive role. Continuous canopy allows safer travel, while gaps created by logging or storms force animals to descend or attempt longer leaps. For inexperienced young, these breaks increase risk and energy expenditure. Rain begins, coating leaves and bark with moisture. Grip becomes more difficult, and the monkey group retreats to thicker foliage where branches are less exposed. The crowned eagle remains out of sight, perched silently as the shower passes. In the hours ahead, as weather clears and activity resumes, both opportunities and dangers will reappear among the leaves. Life in the canopy is a balance of agility, caution, and learning. Skills young animals must master quickly in a world where the ground is far below and predators can approach from every direction. Lessons on the open tundra. Across the northern tundra of Alaska, Canada, and Siberia, spring arrives suddenly. Snow recedes, plants grow rapidly, and migratory birds return to one of the planet's largest nursery grounds. With few trees and wide horizons, the tundra appears open and empty, yet supports millions of nesting birds and young mammals during the brief Arctic summer. Among them are ground-nesting birds such as snow geese and sandpipers. Their nests are shallow scrapes lined with vegetation, holding well-camouflaged eggs and later mobile chicks. Because there is little physical cover, defense relies on different tactics: concealment, distraction displays, and coordinated nesting in large colonies. Arctic foxes travel these landscapes in looping patrols. They listen for faint peeps of chicks and watch for adult birds performing broken wing, displays meant to draw attention away from nests. Foxes raise their own young during the same short season, and the abundance of bird eggs and small chicks can determine how many pups they successfully rear. Nearby, caribou calves take their first steps across open ground within hours of birth. Their main protection is timing and mobility. Calving occurs nearly simultaneously across the herd, and young quickly learn to follow mothers over long distances to reach insect-poor ridges and richer feeding areas. Golden eagles and wolves assess herds from afar, looking for calves that fall behind during river crossings or on uneven terrain. Weather changes quickly on the tundra. A passing storm lowers visibility and temperature, challenging both predators and prey. Chicks huddle under adults to conserve heat, while caribou calves stay close to their mother's downwind side to reduce energy loss. In this environment, cold and wind can be as significant as predation in shaping survival outcomes. As the season advances, insects emerge in vast numbers, providing vital food for growing birds and also influencing movement patterns of large herbivores. Calves gain strength rapidly, and fox pups begin to explore around their dens, learning through short forays before venturing farther. The tundra's openness reveals a simple truth of early life in nature. Visibility does not guarantee safety, and concealment does not guarantee risk. Success depends on synchronization with seasons, rapid growth, parental care, and behaviors refined over thousands of years. The brief Arctic summer will soon end, and migrations will begin again. Southward flights, river crossings, and ocean journeys that connect these young animals to distant ecosystems far beyond the tundra at a larger picture of early life. Across grasslands, forests, oceans, and ice, the first weeks of life are a period of rapid change. Some young animals rely on camouflage and stillness. Others depend on speed, group protection, or the shelter of dens and lairs. Predators, too, follow seasonal cycles, raising their own young and relying on the brief abundance that comes when new life appears. These interactions are not battles of good versus bad. They are exchanges of energy that sustain ecosystems, shape populations, and maintain diversity. Predators often remove the very young, the weak, or the inexperienced. Prey species respond with synchronized births, nursery groups, migration, and remarkable parental care. Together, these strategies form a living balance that has evolved over millions of years. Understanding these relationships helps scientists monitor changing climates and habitats. As seasons shift and landscapes are altered by human activity, the timing of births, migrations, and food availability can move out of sync. Research on young animals and their predators offers early clues about how ecosystems are responding and how conservation can support them. The stories you followed are part of a much wider natural pattern. Life beginning in vulnerable forms, growing stronger through experience, and taking its place in complex communities of plants, animals, and environments across the planet. If you enjoyed this journey into the wild, subscribe for more real animal stories. Leave a comment below. What part surprised you most?